Welcome to Society Begins at Home, a podcast from the University of Trinidad and Tobago. I am Raleigh Dominic Hussein, and in this series, it's all about the values, challenges, and conversations that shape us, starting within our homes. Joining me in this special introductory episode is Dr. Ruby Alleyne, Vice President, Quality Assurance and Institutional Effectiveness at UTT, to explore the vision behind the podcast and why it matters more now than ever. Dr. Alleyne, welcome.
Thank you, Raleigh. Good morning.
Good day,
Good day.
to you, yes. So, how are you doing today?
All is well, thank you. And how are you?
I am doing well. I'm really excited about what we are getting into.
Yes.
This podcast, it's a bit new to us here, and
Yes, it is.
the topic that we are exploring for the next few episodes is definitely one that I think we both are passionate about.
Very much so.
Citizenship.
Yes.
Who are we as Trinbagonians?
Yeah.
Dr. Alleyne, tell us what really inspired this project.
We have been looking at what has been happening around the Caribbean for a while as a university. I remember that just around the turn of the millennium, the leaders of CARICOM countries would have gotten together and decided on the ideal Caribbean person and what that person should be like. And this information was supposed to have been used by education systems across the region in terms of ensuring that the experiences we provide to students would develop the kind of citizens we need for the Caribbean. I remember as well that the first thing that was said there was that the ideal Caribbean person would have been imbued with respect for human life because it is the foundation upon which all other values rest. Fast forward to 2023, when we found that CARICOM heads were meeting here in Trinidad and Tobago to declare crime and violence a public health emergency. So something went wrong.
That's right.
Something didn't happen. And the thought that we could do something as a university to start a dialogue around this, to start persons to reflect about what we try to produce when we talk about producing good citizens,
Yes.
and to perhaps take some action to do that, to develop that, was what gave rise to the idea for the podcast.
And that's a very important thing to understand what really makes a good citizen and how we could really become good citizens. Because I think sometimes we think that it's just probably the food we eat, the music we listen to,
Yes.
right? If we play in carnival or we don't,
Yeah,
but it goes beyond that.
Yeah, because it leads to a social conversation that we need to have. It focuses on home and what home means and the role that home plays in the development of the young people in our society and the future citizens that we produce. And when we talk about home, Raleigh, we're talking about home as a social construct.
Yes.
Not just the place where we reside.
Yes.
Because home is a lot more than that. Home is a place of where you get a sense of belonging, where you develop a sense of identity, where you have experiences that shape who you become, where you interact with persons and look at how other persons interact as well, and you learn from all of that.
Yes.
So home isn't just where you reside. As a matter of fact, in rural Trinidad and Tobago years ago, there were children who would spend more time at the neighbor's house than at their own home.
Yes.
And the home was really that environment where they spent more of their time and learnt the values that would eventually shape them.
That's right.
So when we talk about home, we're talking about that social construct, not just where you are residing with family.
And that is a very important thing to look at it, with that broad sense, because sometimes we just focus on, the household.
Yes.
And we miss what is happening in other parts. And
Exactly.
if we have to fix, we have to probably look at this entire picture to see exactly what we are doing, how we are doing it,
Yes.
what we need to do.
Yes.
Right? Because we want to really understand the family, we want to understand our communities, because they all play a part in developing who we are as people. Every project has so many ups and downs, and things go sometimes unexpectedly. But was there ever a moment during the planning process or even the recording that reminded you why this podcast was important?
During the recording of the podcast, after maybe the second or third one, you started to realize that there was so much in common that the presenters were sharing about their experiences and also about their own thoughts about good citizenship. You just started to realize that we have so much more in common than the differences that we think we have and that separate us. Not just as Trinidadians and Tobagonians, but as people across the region. The issues that we grapple with are issues that we all have in common. And looking for a solution to those issues is also going to require us to come together, to put our heads together, to put our differences aside, and to work towards finding something that can work in our particular society. I just thought about the fact that we live in a part of the world that is on the bucket list for people all over the globe, right?
Once they hear Trinidad,
it's on the bucket
they want
list.
to come.
They want to come to the Caribbean. They want to come to Trinidad and Tobago. That's our home.
Yeah.
We live here. We're blessed to be in these islands.
You know, there's a saying that I live where you vacation.
Yes.
You know?
Exactly.
I think sometimes we miss that, that point that people want to be here.
Yes.
You get so many social unrest and wars and so many turbulence happening in different countries, but people want to come here.
Yeah.
And I feel a sense of joy when I return after a vacation or a trip or something. Yeah. When I walk through Piarco Airport and I see "Welcome to Trinidad and Tobago" there, I'm like, home. I think if I were George, our home.
Yes.
You know,
yes.
And you kind of sing that in your heart.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that is something that we miss. We
and
miss
it's that
point.
Passion. It's that passion for where we live, this place that we call home, that came out from all the speakers that we had in the podcast. And really, I think we have to use that passion to move us towards a solution, to move us towards uniting around finding solutions to the challenges that we have.
We have to really want that bad.
Yeah.
We have to want it bad. There must be a hunger for it.
Yeah.
You know? And you are right there with regards to that common part with all of our speakers.
Yeah.
And it shows really that sometimes we want the same thing.
We do.
You know? We may ask for it differently, or we may have different versions of it, but we all want the same thing, a better Trinidad and Tobago.
At the end of the day, that's it. And we can all take that one step forward to making this a reality.
That's right. And I think it's definitely going to take all of us.
Exactly.
We can't want it halfway, you know. It's all of us in it together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what we try to do with the podcast is to bring together persons who had different perspectives and different experiences. We try to focus on persons who were leaders in different spheres of activity, religion, in education, in the arts. We looked for single parents. Right. We looked for persons who were in law enforcement. And of course, we know that UTT itself has the Institute for Criminology and Public Safety. And so there are persons who would have been interacting with us in terms of that institute and the work that it does with its programs, who we would have brought into the podcast as well. So we have that opportunity to listen to some of the leaders, speak about their perspectives, share on what they think good citizenship is, and also try to examine the challenges we have and provide some advice to parents in particular and to people in general in terms of what we can do to improve the quality of citizenship that we experience.
I'm quite excited about that.
I am as well.
I think it's a worthwhile conversation, and hearing these opinions definitely would inspire families, inspire primary caregivers, inspire people to probably see, I wonder if this will work. I wonder if we could definitely try this. Because we all have our stories and experiences. And I think we can learn from each other. So I'm excited about that.
There's something to learn from what everyone has to say. And I think that as a society, sometimes we do not listen enough. And listening is engaging with what the person who is speaking to you has to say, what their experience is, what they're sharing with you. Often we listen just to respond.
Yeah.
And halfway through hearing what the person is saying, we are already getting our response ready.
Yes.
Deep listening requires us to be silent and to engage with what is being said, and to perhaps think about the perspective of the person who is speaking and see if there's any value or merit in what is being said. So I think in the podcast series, you will hear persons sharing a lot of their experiences, a lot of advice that they would have gained from those experiences. And it's for the listeners to consider it, to reflect on it, and to see if there's anything that they can take away, that they can implement, that they can try, you know. I will refer to research that I've done through the years as an educator. And years ago, looking at what produces the ideal citizen, what would have stood out would have been character development. That there is a type of character that stands out in terms of being humanistic, in terms of being respectful not just of other persons, but respectful of persons' opinions, respectful of property. We see so much destruction of property in our society. If you go to the schools, you look at the tables, you look at the chairs, you see what's written on them, what's the
Even
drawings
public
on them.
transport.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It begins with all of that. It's respect for people, it's respect for property, it's respect for opinions. So we may have different opinions.
Yes.
We may share different perspectives, but we don't have to be disagreeable about it. And certainly not to resort to violence. And violence in terms of our language as well as our behavior. So when you think about good citizenship, you think about someone who has the balance in terms of being able to determine that my behavior must not necessarily be affected by how I'm feeling right now. I will be tolerant, I will be respectful, although I may have a different point of view.
As you were speaking there about being tolerant, and it's one of our national watchwords.
Yes.
You know, and I think we must be mindful of other people. We are coexisting with people in society, and giving them the courtesy that you would like extended to you. You know, doing unto others as you will have them do unto you. You know, that's very important to help shape. So I thank you so much for, you know, your thoughtful reflection, and for you and your team coming up with this podcast. It's a conversation that we need to start, and who better to start than the National University of Trinidad and Tobago.
Exactly.
I think we should drive the conversations, and we have a role and a responsibility to the people of Trinidad and Tobago, being the National University, to start conversations, contribute to conversations, and ensure that, you know, we are keeping important matters to the front. So this is just the beginning, and we invite you to join us each month as we speak to individuals from different walks of life, different parts of society, as we begin shaping these conversations around citizenship, values, and community, starting right at home. I'm Raleigh Dominic Hussein, and I will be the host of Society Begins at Home. And be sure to tune in to episode 1, and we will see you for exciting conversations right here on Society Begins at Home, brought to you by the University of Trinidad and Tobago.